My name is Dr. Michael Hartle, Doctor of Chiropractic from Indiana, United States. I am here this weekend in Budapest to teach the Strong First Lifter Barbell certification. And we are here on American Thanksgiving weekend to share our joy of lifting barbells. When I was in high school, I got involved in racing bikes, 10 speeds, kind of like Tour de France, but not that level. And then I discovered football, started playing that when I was in high school. When I got out of high school, I discovered the sport of powerlifting and started gaining weight and enjoying as far as lifting the barbell, and competed in powerlifting all the way up to 2005. In 2006, I temporarily retired from powerlifting and started playing semi-pro American football. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years and just finished my 9th season. And then I'm going into next year, my 10th season of playing football at the young age of 47. I've coached junior high track and field, been doing that for the last 14 years. Also junior high football. Then I also coached the USA Powerlifting bench press national team for 8 years. And then enjoy as far as coaching here with Strong First. Well, I've been involved as far as with Pavel for quite a few years and everything else from his previous organization. And then as he created his own organization, the Strong First, he gave me a phone call one day and said, "Are you interested in putting together a barbell certification?" And I said yes. And 6 months later, after lots of writing and typing and all sorts of things, we had a Strong First Lifter manual put together, about 110 pages or so. And then we put on our first barbell cert in Vicenza, Italy, back in June of 2013. This weekend celebrates the 10th SFL barbell cert here in Budapest. Well, the biggest thing as far as, especially if you have someone who's a beginner to the barbell, is, again, I'll emphasize it again, technique. So you want to practice your lifts as much as possible. The more time with the bar, the better you are going to pattern your body, the better as far as your nervous system gets used to it, your muscular system, skeletal, and everything else there. So with programming, what I would do is I would keep the weight in a very light manner for a long time and work on lifts. In a sense, train, 5 days a week, for example. But I would use very short workouts and training sessions where you go in there, you practice your lifts, you go home and critique yourself, whether it's videotaping yourself, working with a trainer or whoever else, but you need to work on practicing the skills, slowly bring the weight up. Now, after a period of time of doing that, you're going to eventually have to get into a more strict type of program where you start to do cycling, whether you're doing a linear progression or nonlinear, whatever else that may be. But there's going to be some time and space, maybe 6, maybe 8 months, where you need to spend some time doing the lighter weight stuff, but work on the skill practice. Get that honed into your body, get that honed into your nervous system, so that now it's an automatic pattern when you start to load it with that. So it's hard to give programming advice to a beginner, more so that you need to practice techniques and practice your skills. You can put weight on the bar, but you need to practice your skill first before anything else. Right, one of the things that we talk about is that we use the kettlebell kind of as an entry point to strength. Now, my background, I started using the barbell first, because at that point, I didn't know anything in 1986 what a kettlebell was. Even I don't know if it was being sold in the United States at that point. Pavel kind of brought that over from as far as Eastern Europe there to the United States. I think in the the late 90s or early 90s, around that time. So I started with the barbell. A lot of people do that, but I recommend at this day and age that if you can, start with the kettlebell first. It's a good way. It's kind of a less intimidating way of understanding what strength training is about. And then if someone wants to go beyond that, go into the barbell. And to talk about the squat, for example, a lot of the things that we teach in both the goblet squat and the kettlebell front squat, a lot of those things we say you need to know and have a good handle and understanding of before you go into a barbell squat. So it's a less sharp learning curve by doing it that way. Well, when you compare kettlebells and barbells, I mean, there's different purposes for each one. One example I always bring up is that, for example, let's take my sport of football right now. Kettlebells are fantastic as far as being able to gain some strength, maintain some strength, and also work on greatly enhancing my conditioning for football. I mean, you remember playing football, it's 3 hours generally, 2.5, 3 hours, 3.5 hours of running on the field, and then recovering, running the field, that kind of stuff. And we play in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. It's during the summertime, so it can be 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're wearing all that football gear. So you need to be able to be conditioned to recover fast. So kettlebells help me out tremendously with that. The barbells help me out also too, because the kettlebells, you can only use so much weight on a certain point with the kettlebells. They're one size. You can't like add a plate to a kettlebell. So the barbell helps me that with as well too, because I can add almost an infinite amount of weight to a barbell to gain strength. So for example, I play defensive tackle in American football, and with that, we'll be maybe get double teamed by, say, the offensive guard and center. Well, those guys may weigh up to 300 pounds each. So there's 600 pounds of human being coming at me, and so I have to have a strength to withstand that. Kettlebells will help with that so much, but the barbell helps as far as with that, because I can say work my squat up to say 500 or 600 pounds in the bar. Whereas, for example, the largest kettlebell that most people use is a 48 kilo. We call it the Beast, 106 pounds. If I use 2 of those, that's still only 212 pounds if I do that as a kettlebell front squat, whereas I can load the barbell up. So they complement each other, but they're also separate in regard. So I use them for, in a sense, different purposes at different times of the year for that. But there's certainly also times where I use them in the same workout as well, too, in the same training session. The nice thing about powerlifting is that it's a sport you do yourself. Okay, so you're only dependent on yourself. It's very much like track and field. When I teach my sprinters how to run, you own that 1 meter of space between the other lane and the other lane. That's your space. How you perform is how you do is based on yourself. So same thing here too in powerlifting, is that if my goal is to squat 705, 320 kilos, which is my best squat, then it's up to me to do the training. So it's up to me to show up to the gym. It's up to me to get to sleep, to eat the right foods, to do the right restorative, regenerative methods, things like that, to get to achieve that goal. And if I don't achieve that goal, find out why, and then figure out a way to go ahead and go forth and achieve that. So it's one of those things that it's just more of a kind of an internal fire or something like that that's inside me that burns to want to achieve that. That's why at the young age of 38, I decided to play American football. No, it's not the NFL, but it's still semi-pro. These are guys that are very good in their early 20s, and I'm double their age. And being able to still do that is something that comes inside me. Well, and again, for a beginner, you don't need necessarily years of that, but I mean, if someone's dedicated, 6 months down the road, they can really hone their skills and then slowly start to gain some weight with that, or add some weight to the bar with that. And there's plenty of texts out there about different ways of programming and stuff like that you can utilize. Pavel just put on a Plan Strong workshop in Arizona here a couple weeks ago, and he went over a lot of programming stuff. The back half of the Strong First Lifter manual is all program design. And we spend over 4 hours at the Strong First Lifter barbell course, teaching programming and go over it and tell you about the principles of doing it, and then give lots of examples in there that you can read on your own and see how things put together. One of the organizations in the United States, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, that's in the United States, they have an organization around the world. They are a group of strength and conditioning professionals. Obviously going to strongfirst.com will help them out as far as learning. They have active blogs that have logs every week that talk about training advice. In there also shows all the certs and courses that they have, as far as from the 3-day certifications of the level 1 kettlebell, level 2 kettlebell, and of course the barbell and the bodyweight courses. I'd recommend people, if they want to become the trainers, to become knowledgeable about the body. There's some basic anatomical texts out there to understand what landmarks are in muscles and joints and things like that. But I would recommend them go through the SFG level 1, the kettlebell level cert, level 1 first. And by doing that, you're going to get a big appreciation for how the body works and functions properly. And that's actually what we built this lifter course, this certification on top of. Both the cert and the course was SFG level 1, the material that's taught in that. You also, as far as requirement to come to the lifter cert, You can either go to the SFG level 1, or you can also go to the one-day kettlebell course. Either one, we build on top of that with the information that we teach here this weekend. Plan the work, work the plan. Okay? I tell people all the time that you need to plan your work, how you're going to achieve something, and then you need to work it. And along the way, if you have something that gets in the way, you can tweak it a little bit, but have a plan. If you just go to the gym and you just kind of amble along and just do this or that or whatever else and no plan, or you constantly go in the gym and you're constantly going hard and intense all the time, you're going to eventually fail. And you're going to get hurt, whatever else, come see me as a patient, that kind of thing. So let's not do that. Let's go ahead and keep it safe. Plan to work, work to plan. Ideally, I like to do 3 days a week. When I was competing in powerlifting, it was 4 days a week and everything else there. During football season, usually it's down to 2 days a week because the third training day that I normally would do in the off season is actually the day I play football. So obviously I don't want to train in the morning with that and everything else there. So I want to be able to be safe and be, fatigue less with that. So anyways, I train Tuesdays and Thursdays and then play games on Saturdays. Managing my food, I just eat lots of it. But as far as when I travel, I'm a board certified nutritionist, so it's one of those things that I be smart about what I eat. When I'm not training right now, because this month of October, November, we do a lot of traveling. So my training hasn't been where it should be as far as that, but I knew that coming in, so I planned for that. So I need to decrease as far as my, some of my portions. Stay as much away from sugar and carbs and excess carbs and things like that as much as possible. Lots of meat and vegetables. Lots of meat. I've never been to a CrossFit gym as far as training wise. We have some colleagues in the StrongFirst community who own CrossFit gyms. And from what I've seen of their facilities where we've had some of the SFL, StrongFirst Barbell courses and certs at, they do a very good job. But like I alluded to earlier, whether it's CrossFit or any other organization or method, if you're going hard and intense all the time, eventually you're going to break down. I don't care if it's a car, if it's your computer, if it's your body, whatever else, eventually it will break down. So I think CrossFit is good. A couple things that it helped establish is that it kind of created community. And that's something that we also have in StrongFirst too, but it's kind of a lesson for a lot of businesses to look at as far as how you establish a community. The second thing I would say too is that it kind of brought barbells also kind of out of the closet. A lot of people were kind of got away from barbells, went to machines, sat in something, you buckled yourself in a seatbelt and you moved something. Okay, they were able to get barbells out there. The closet. So a lot of people started using barbells in a greater fashion and number with that, just that you need to use it in a proper sense. So I don't care if it's CrossFit or Joe Blow's gym or whatever else, you got to use it properly. And that's one thing we teach here at the StrongFirst Lifter Cert is how to use a barbell properly. So if you go to a CrossFit gym and you're doing a back squat, you come to this cert, you're going to learn how to do it properly. And so if you go there and do your workout of the day or whatever else, when you leave there, your technique is sound. Well, steroids I've been against for years. I've never used them myself. For a 5-year period, I was in charge of the drug testing program for USA Powerlifting. So we used to monitor 900, 900 tests a year. Of course, we have the IOC drug tests, WADA. It helps as far as administering a lot of that. In the United States, you have the USADA. So I'm very much against using steroids. To me, it's obviously a method of cheating. But not only that, you go from the health detriment with that, meaning as far as it's been known to lead to different types of cancers. People who use the steroids have an increased rate of as far as muscle tendon tears. So whether it be a quad tear, hamstring tear, pec tear, shoulder tear, things like that, groin tear. There's no there's no beneficial reason anyone should be using steroids. Now we're talking anabolic steroids. Everything else is a different class. Obviously, corticosteroids, that's used more for reduced inflammation, things like that. But anabolic steroids, there's absolutely no reason I find anyone to use it from trying to help an athletic endeavor. The one thing I'll probably want to add too is that, for parents out there that want to get their kids involved with strength training, it's very safe as long as you have a qualified, certified instructor. One of the things I always tell parents, for example, many years ago, the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with a position paper that said, no kid should probably strength train before the age of 16. But we tend to forget, again, I coach junior high football. So we have kids that are in, 7th grade who are 12, 13 years old, even in 10, 11 years old as far as in 5th and 6th grade, that are putting on full football equipment and playing football. There's more, if you want to use the term damage or whatever else, or potential hurt happening with that kind of football than some kid who's the same age in a structured, well-supervised training program. There's people kids that have grown up on farms that haul, 30, 40, 50 pound buckets of, chop or whatever else in the farm, and yet lifting a 26 pound kettlebell, 12 kilo kettlebell is like, we don't want to do that. Okay, so again, a well supervised, organized program, kid can very much gain a lot of strength. Kids nowadays spend so much time, exercising their thumbs, they're not getting out there anymore. And I see that when I coach junior high track and field and football, that we have kids that don't know how to use their bodies. Whereas when I was a kid, we didn't have those things. So you went outside, you climbed a tree, you climbed over a fence, you walked the curb how long as you could to see how long you could stay balanced on that. You did monkey bars, all those kind of things. And we don't have kids do that. So getting kids into a supervised program, it would be fantastic for parents to do. But, it's not, I was talking to a recent parent who I told her that my 2 older sons, we started doing weight training when they were 9 and 10 years old. Now, we started with a bar, and even the bar we had was only a 10 kilo bar, so it was a training bar. And we taught them technique, and eventually they were able to put weight on the bar and become stronger. But it's one of those things that at that age, they're not going to cause any damage to their bodies. Okay, kids play football, they play hockey, and all around the world and stuff like that, and they slam in the boards, fall in the ice, all that kind of stuff. Things that could be potentially more jarring and hurtful to the body. So we want to make sure that when parents are going to do that stuff, it's safe to go ahead and do that, but make sure you research who you're sending your kid to, that they're qualified and certified to do what they're doing. One of my favorite books that I'm actually finishing up right now is called The Way of the SEAL, written by Mark Devine. He was a former Navy SEAL, has owned several businesses, very successful, so he basically took what he learned with his Navy SEAL training as a commander officer in the Navy and turned into business. And so I've been enjoying the book. Like I said, my dad was in the military, so I have some background with that, but I'm enjoying the book greatly. Another book I read quite a few years ago that I enjoyed is called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I haven't read that one for a long time, but that one is very good. Third book I've read before, which I enjoy, is called Evolve Your Brain. Dr. Joe Dispenza wrote that, and it's quite an intriguing book. We tend to think of the brain and the nervous system that, like for example, your personality is set once you're a certain age and they can't change it. And he uses research and everything else to pretty much debunk that myth, that line that you can, if you want to change things, if you have an addiction or if certain things about your life you don't like, you can certainly change how your mind works. Basically shut down certain neurons, wake up other ones, create new pathways, things like that. And science now is backing him up with that, with functional MRIs and things like that, as far as there's neuroplasticity in the nerve cells. So those are 3 books that I recommend quite a bit just for overall reading and everything else. From a training perspective, I haven't read a training book in a long time. I guess more I've been as far as putting together this manual and doing a lot of teaching with that. I do know that Tudor Bompa wrote the periodization book. That's a great one. Gray Cook's books, was it The Movement and I think Athlete and Balance. Both those are fantastic as far as books, understanding how the body works. So those are some books as far as some training / movement books that I would recommend for people to utilize. In addition to reading an anatomical text, like Frank Netter was a medical doctor who was also a fantastic artist, and he actually drew his own anatomical text. And that's something that's a good reference to have as far as when you're looking things up and stuff like that. I think as far as role models, one person I've always said was Abraham Lincoln. And I enjoy what he did for my country back when we had our Civil War. So what he had to deal with and everything else has always been something that's been inspiring with that. So he's a role model. My parents, role models as well too. My dad served time in the Navy during Vietnam, so he was away, so Mom had to take care of me and my brother quite a bit, obviously when he was out of town. And my dad, as far as what he did for us as kids. And then also Pavel, who runs Strong First, is also a mentor of mine. I also look up to him for what he's achieved and everything. My clinic is Allen County Family and Sports Chiropractic in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I want to mention that. I also want to mention we have a Facebook page of the same name. I also have another business I also do too. I teach workshops under advanced strength and speed strategies. You can find me on Facebook there as well too. I'm also on Twitter. And then also you can look me up as far as with strongfirst.com. You can check out upcoming certifications and courses that not only I'm teaching, but there's other master and senior and team leader instructors that are teaching it as well too. So thank you for this opportunity, and I greatly appreciate it.